Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info. The next production of Bolton's Octagon Theatre, the first to be directed by new artistic director Lotte Wakeham, is a version of Chekhov's The Seagull, rewritten by Beth Hyland as a gig musical about 4 aspiring young musicians in a rock band in 2019, performed in a small theatre space in Bolton Library. I called on the cast during rehearsals when 2 of the cast, Matthew Hayward and Flora Spencer-Longhurst, were still performing in the previous production of Beryl. But I did manage to speak to the other half of the cast, Tomi Ogbaro and Lauryn Redding, together with director Lotte Wakeham. But before you listen to that conversation, here is one of the songs from the show, Remember.
Let us drain the remnants, what remains of our innocence. Oh, yeah, my afternoon is free. We clear a path through the trees. You start to laugh, I'm on my knees for you. You're heaven and earth to me. But we'll be fine. It's cold, but it's still light. I hold you, now you're mine. Will you remember? Will you remember? Will you remember? Will you remember? We're out of breath from this sweet chase. You cup your hands around my face and stare like we've never met. There's something wrong, but what to say? You say the perfect things, they slip away from you. And I don't want to forget. If I got what I always wanted, then why do I feel like I'm still haunted? If you got what you always wanted, then why do you feel like you're still haunted? Will you remember?
Hey, I'm Tomi Ogbaro and I'm playing Simon in Seagulls.
I'm Lauryn Redding and I'm playing Masha.
I'm Lotte Wakeham, I'm the artistic director of the Octagon and I'm the director of Seagulls.
Okay, so Seagulls, it's Chekhov, but not as we know it.
Yeah.
So where does Chekhov come into a musical at all? But this is not even a standard musical, is it?
Yeah, great question. So it's by this young writer called Beth Hyland. And I think she just wanted to take the story of the seagull and the themes of the seagull and think about how to present them in a really relevant 21st century way. And she was thinking about those characters, so Constantine and Nina and Masha, and just looking at how those sort of characters might work in the 21st century. And so she's reimagined them as a university band. So with all the sort of ins and outs and the like fallings in and out of love, and like what does it mean to be an artist? What does it mean to want to be famous? What does it mean to rebel against the generation above you? So in the original play, Constantine is sort of rebelling against his mom, Arkadina, who's a famous sort of classical actress. And in our version, he wants to be a rock star and his mom is a faded 90s pop star called Dina D. So yeah, I think she's done a really amazing job of taking those themes and making them feel really accessible and relevant. And we've talked about this a bit before, but I've often, like as an audience member, found Chekhov to be a bit inaccessible. And I'm sure there's loads of brilliant Chekhov out there, but I feel like often versions that I've seen the translation, I just don't really always understand the stakes of the situation, or why they don't just go to Moscow, or why, it just doesn't always seem particularly relevant. And when I read this version, I went, I totally understand their scenario, them being at uni and in this sort of small town, and I totally understand their aspirations and their interactions as a foursome, people being in love with other people and what it means to really fancy someone who's going out with someone else. I just think she's done an amazing job of transposing it really into this 21st century gig theatre feeling.
Yeah. I think even some of the original reviews of Three Sisters were saying exactly that. Why don't you just get on with it? But,
right.
Even Stanislavski didn't really understand what Chekhov was getting at. He didn't realise he was trying to write a comedy.
That's the thing. I feel like a lot of translations of Chekhov, they're very serious and ponderous.
And often written in quite old-fashioned language as well, aren't they?
And you read those articles that say, people in the original Russian productions were like rolling in the aisles and it was really funny. And that's not been my experience as an audience member.
Mine either.
What I love about Beth, she's a really gifted comic writer as well. It's so funny, actually.
Yeah.
And she...
It's tragic, but it's so funny.
It's very painful, some of the situations, but there's a lot of comedy gold that she mines from that in terms of, just like students being sort of studenty in a way that you can look at them with a bit of distance and go, actually, like, it's hard to be a student, but sometimes you get yourself into slightly, like, weirdly comic situations that at times seem like life or death, and then with a bit more perspective, you're like... guys, you're going to be able to leave uni and go on with your lives and it's going to be fine. So that's also a bonus that she's such a gifted comic writer. So there's lots of jokes. We're laughing a lot.
But if you look at the language of even the translations of the original play, it's all there. Those characters still sort of jump to life, don't they? They're still like human. Last week I saw Hedda Tesman, which is an updating of Hedda Gabler.
Yeah.
And the story's the same. It's just set differently.
Yeah.
And it's very clever the way it's done. So those old naturalistic plays, Ibsen and Chekhov, they can still be relevant, can't they?
Oh, yeah.
The right way.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
So you're playing characters which sound like they're from the Seagull.
Yes.
How is it different from you? You're not wearing 19th century dresses, or
I mean, they've like Lotte said, the themes are the same, and that is from time. It's people fall in love with people they shouldn't be in love with, now as well as back then, and making it relevant, making it accessible is so. Because I remember going to see the Seagull, the Royal Court, like it's the first Seagull Chekhov I've ever seen, and it was great, but I hadn't got a clue what was going on, and there was moments where I was like, oh, this is bonkers. I think I'm having a nice time. And when this job came up, I thought, God, that's a really interesting way to approach something that feels so far away from like relevant kind of university life and a band and the gig theatre element. So we're also all playing all the instruments. We're a band called Seagulls. And that's And I thought, how is it? This is nuts. But it really works because music is a universal language, and I think even if you didn't speak English and you came to see it, the songs are beautiful, and you know what the people are singing because of the way the music is written, the way that we play the music, the way that we feed the story through music as well. So playing Masha, obviously Masha's quite a well-known character in The Seagull, and she's, why do you wear black all the time? Because I've been mourning for my life. There's a cheeky nod towards that in one of the scenes. There's moments where you see, if people are like heavy Chekhov fans, they'll notice a lot of things, which is quite nice, isn't it?
She's a goth, really, isn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically how we've done it, and how we are. My costume fittings have been quite hilarious. A lot of black, a lot of black. But it's nice to crack open something that is quite iconic and think about it in a different way.
Have either of you actually looked back at the Chekhov since you've been rehearsing this, or have you just put that on one side?
Well, I know the Seagull quite well because they did it back in my school. I think one of the great things about Beth's writing is how faithful it is to the original.
Yeah.
It's got all the beats, the characters have the heart that the original characters have, but just put in a very contemporary 21st century setting. And I think it just goes to show how amazingly transferable those themes of love, regret, aspirations, are timeless. They're here, and it's not something that goes away with time. Yeah, and I think it's just been amazing, like cracking open a work from decades and decades ago, and just feeling how relevant it is to young life and to life itself. And again, with the music, I think when a lot of casual goers, when they go to the theatre, it's very much a relationship of you sit down and watch, and we'll do the acting and playing. I think that music allows it to be more of a communication, more of a sort of a dining of two different parties, and it just makes it so accessible.
Although the venue contributes to that as well. You just had Beryl. Is Beryl still running at the moment?
Yeah, it's still on,
and apparently very successfully.
Ah, thank you.
And that, he's very intimate. They come out and speak directly to the audience. I was offered a licorice also by Vicky Binns at the beginning. And I suppose you can't ignore that atmosphere, that relationship with an audience in a place that small, can you? So how have you incorporated that into the production?
We're really lucky. So the reason that we're over there at the library is because the Octagon's currently undergoing this major £12 million transformation. So the theatre's being rebuilt. It's a building site at the moment. So in the time that the main building has been closed, we've been looking for opportunities to still produce work in and around Bolton in different spaces. And for this autumn, we thought, the library will be a really good fit for that, because as you say, they have this studio theatre space down in the basement, around the corner from the aquarium. Like, people don't necessarily know that it's there, but it's this really nice little space. And I think the beauty of the Octagon auditorium is that even though it's bigger, it's nearer to 400 seats, it has this incredible intimate atmosphere. So wherever you sit, you feel like you're having a really kind of intense experience, because you're so physically close to the actors because of the way that it's set up. So we wanted to be able to replicate that in some way. So we were looking for other spaces around town that had that more kind of intimate feel. So the library is really a perfect fit for that. And some of the other, like our festive show, for example, we're doing at the Bolton Wanderers Stadium, and that will have a very different feel because it's such a big space. But for the shows that I wanted to do this autumn, so Beryl, the Maxine Peake play, and then this, I just wanted to find somewhere where the audience, we all just felt like we were in one kind of small room, which is the kind of space where you might see a gig, where, a kind of intimate gig. So I think it will be a good fit for it. Yeah,
but you put in on a rock concert in a library. And you're playing rock stars or pop stars, aren't you? So how does that feel?
Aspirational.
Aspirational rock stars. It's good, isn't it? We're having a nice time.
I think that the cast is such a good fit for each other, and really, it couldn't have been casted better. Like, everyone just fits their character so well, and we all just gel and work. I think musically and as actors as well, and I think that musical connection helps. With the acting scenes as well, because they sort of blend into one to tell the story. Don't they?
Yeah, because it's in association with Middle Child, who are based in Hull, and their thing is gig theatre. That's what they do, and they're the best at it, in my opinion. And we're working with James Frewer, who's the MD, and he's got his hands on the music with us, and he works in a really visceral way, and he's like, "No, do it again." And we're like, "Okay," but it's great because it feels like you're in a room with your mates making music and going, "No, that was rubbish. Do that one." Try it again. Listen. It feels a really organic way of approaching music, whereas sometimes you do a show with music and they throw you the dots and that's it.
Yes.
And you go, okay, I'll play that every night for 8 weeks, brilliant. Whereas this feels like we are a band, we have a bit of artistic license to it as well.
Collaboration.
And when I've been in bands and stuff, and you normally got drums, bass, guitar, maybe lead guitar. And that's but in that space, because it is small, you whack a drum kit in there, you're in trouble. So we've had to be...
Drums are always a problem.
I mean, even in, big, massive theatres, it's still let's get a shield or use hot rods, and you're like, brilliant, thanks. But I think we've had to approach it in a cleverer way. How can we be a band that doesn't have that obvious thing? So we don't even have a cajon, which is like a box you sit on and hit. That's often used instead of a kit. We don't have that. So it's bass, guitar, electric guitar, and violin and keys, and each song's got a kind of different setup. And it sounds really exciting.
It's a very different texture.
Yeah. There's one where me and Tomi
music.
are just playing and it's just bass and guitar and it's the scariest thing. Because you can't hide. You're like, oh gosh. Normally if you've got some keys whacking out or a drum kit, you can kind of go, missed that, it's fine. You know, whereas it's which is the joy of it, it's the challenge of it. You know, if it was easy, then I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think also because it's a new piece, there was that flexibility when we were casting. So James, the MD, and I, when we started thinking about the casting, we said we need to get 4 really killer musicians who also are brilliant enough actors that you would want to see them in a Chekhov play.
Yeah.
We were like, we'll get them. And I'm so thrilled with the way it's worked out, because it meant that they are such a skilled group of actors who also can play instruments to such a high standard, and it's meant that because it's not been done before, we've had the flexibility in rehearsals to go, what happens if Tomi just jumps on electric guitar at this point, or what happens if you do, can you jump on keys for a sec? We've been able, it's not like we're following a blueprint.
Yeah.
So we've just been able to create that in the rehearsal room and use the musical skills that everyone
Well, the Octagon's been doing actor-musician shows for quite a few years now, hasn't it?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You must have some talent you can tap into from that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that audiences say a lot, the fact that they love it. I find that it's so exciting as an audience member to see actors acting brilliantly, singing, dancing, and then also when they whack out an instrument as well, and you're like, I can't believe these people are so talented. It's a really nice thing to watch, and I think for younger audience members as well, to see actors playing instruments is really inspiring, and it's not hidden behind a screen, or it's not hidden away in an orchestra pit. It's right there in front of you, and you can see the sweat and the concentration. And I just think that's great for young people to see that that's an aspect of performing that's accessible to them.
Yeah, it feels like you're watching something that you couldn't do yourself if you see people playing multiple instruments. Sometimes there's some people who sit in an audience and think, I could do that, don't they? If they just see somebody acting.
Yeah, I don't think they'll feel that watching this.
I hope not.
Well, you're in a rock band.
Yeah.
You've done some recordings as well. Does it feel different? Does it feel like you're actually being part of something like a rock band?
Yeah, kind of actually.
Yeah.
And I think especially when recording it, I was so astonished at how amazingly professional and just incredible everyone was as well, and how I think a lot what we're thinking of right now is really getting into that band element of playing together, putting on a show, as well as just playing really, really good. And I think it's really starting to click now, that vibe of the band. How would a student band play a gig when they're new? How would they play it when they're a few years on, so on and so forth?
We sat in the recording studio, and it was in our second week, so we'd all met. We'd had 4 days rehearsal because we didn't work the Monday, so we didn't really know each other, and we played a bit together, and then we were in the recording studio, and I was like, this is so cool. So it was really cool. And we were all just playing, and I thought, this is cool, this is my job, this is ridiculous. But it was a bit, we did have a nice time, felt a bit rock star, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then so we sound good, if I do say so.
Right.
Yeah, but that comes from the pretentious artist. Yours is the miserable goth type one. Does that come? Okay. Maybe I'm simplifying a little. But do those come across? How do those come across in the music, in the way you're playing?
Well, we had a session with Ellen, who's our movement director, and she brought in loads of pictures of artists, people like Bowie, people like Elton John, iconic lead men and women and drummers and pianists, and just looking at shapes and physicality of how these people play their instruments. Because you see see Elton John sit at a piano, you know it's Elton John. What is that? Where does that come from? And I can't play the piano. I play the piano in the show. I can't play the piano like Lauryn. I have to play the piano like Masha, but I don't know what that's an answer that I have to find out with the help of movement director and the script. And with Masha, actually, it's been an interesting journey, because you can look at her and think she's just miserable, she's really unanimated and quite deadpan, and what does that mean when she approaches music? Is it the same? But I actually think that's what makes her alive. So she is quite, a lot of the scenes she's quite to the point, poor Simon. But then when music happens, it's she becomes alive. Otherwise, you have to take it up a notch. You have to, and with Con, he's this tortured artist, and Matt's not here. He's in Beryl, so he's kind of like working, and Flora both working their socks off. But he's amazing at being this quite pretentious, like head, rubbing his hair and being like, guys, you just need to make some music. And it is like you see those people all the time, especially in student bands. Yeah. Taking themselves very seriously. In a couple of years' time, they're going to be lawyers or something. Great job. But so you have to approach it especially with instruments. You can't just be a character and then sit down on the piano and be Lauryn. Yeah. You have to really and find an interesting way of doing that as well. Otherwise, you're just watching people sit and play.
Yeah, I think it's about us approaching everything as actors. Like even in pure musical theatre, when someone's singing, they're not just a singer singing on stage. They're telling a story. They're embodying emotions. And I think we're doing that, but more so because we're playing our instruments as well.
Yeah, you're bringing the playing into that.
And just as much as you discover the journey of the character within a text, within a play, you do the same with the music and how they play that and how each song affects them. And I think it all works together to sort of build a story and communicate the message, really.
It's great.
This is a co-production with Middle Child, you mentioned before. Co-productions are really important in theatre these days, but quite often it's one of the companies on the list that's actually done all the work and the rest of them just provide a venue. But this seems more integrated because you're directing it, Middle Child are involved as well. So how's this actually working?
As Lauryn said, they're just the best at what they do. They specialise in gig theatre, and I've known their work for a number of years, and I've known James, the musical director, for a number of years. And so as soon as this was on the cards, I got in touch with James and Paul, their artistic director, and said, is there a way that we could collaborate on this? And they were really up for doing it because they're up for having, partnerships with different theatres, outside of Hull. And so we did some R&D on the piece a couple of days earlier this year, which Paul and James were around for, and looking at the script and giving feedback. Obviously, we've got James in the room pretty much all the time as MD, teaching the music and arranging it and orchestrating it. Paul is going to be around a bit as well. So it does feel, and they've been great in terms of giving us advice about marketing and how gig theatre can reach a slightly different audience to a more traditional theatre audience. So they gave us advice about putting together a trailer, which we've done, and recording the tracks and releasing them on Spotify, that kind of thing. So it has felt really collaborative, and like they've got a lot of expertise in that area, which they've been able to share. And they're such a brilliant company. I hope we get to collaborate on more things. But so far it's felt really good and really sort of fruitful, and like we've both had stuff to bring to the party.
Yeah. And what about a relationship with the writer, because she's not exactly local?
No, you're right.
I'm sure you're doing it in a way that wasn't entirely as she envisaged originally. So
Beth is American. She's from Chicago, and so I first got to know her about 4 years ago, where she'd written an early draft of the show but set it in a college town in America, and I was introduced to her via a mutual friend, and I said, I love this script, I think it's amazing. If there was ever a way of me doing it in the UK, how would you feel about us relocating it to a UK setting? Because it is so universal, the themes and the idea of being in a university town. That is a similar experience, whether it's in the UK or America or, wherever in the world. And she was really, really up for that. She's very collaborative. And then when I got the job at Bolton, I said, oh, great, can we set it in Bolton? And set it at the University of Bolton, who, the theatre has a relationship with. And she just was so enthusiastic about all of that. And she's been brilliant throughout the process. We talk on Skype, like, really regularly. I did a sort of version, like an anglicisation, I suppose, so just swapping out some of the words to make them feel more British, and she reads all of those and gets really excited. She loves the word mate, that's like her favourite, and she rewrote a song for Tomi where she uses the word mate, and I think she's really like proud of herself for having all the like English vernacular. It's actually been easier than I thought in a way, because it's so easy now with Skype and like FaceTime. We just, talk, every few days really. And she's going to be coming over next week as well. Right. So we'll have her for the tech process and for previews. So that will be great. I'm really pleased that we've been able to sort that out, that she'll come over.
Yeah, and the music's original as well.
Yeah. So she has written, I love it, she's just so like gutsy and bold. So she has taken this Chekhov play, rewritten it, and she's also written all the music and all the lyrics. Like, she's such a talent, and yeah, I just... and she also was really interested in, you know, the female characters in the play and how to give them a bit more airtime and more of a voice and look at how the music industry treats women. Like, that's something she was really interested in, which isn't so much, obviously, in the original. But yeah, it's just a great 21st century adaptation that she's done.
Yeah. But where are you up to in rehearsals at the moment?
Start of week 4.
Yeah. We were doing a stagger through of Act 2 this afternoon. Yeah, we did a lot of music early on, which is often, I mean, sometimes you'll work with people and they think music just happens and there you go, and you've got 20 minutes to do it, and you think, well, that's not quite how it works. So we've had quite a bit of time on it, which has been great, because we've really found our sound, and it
you
also
need to feel comfortable with it, really.
Yeah, and then we feel comfortable with each other, and essentially this play is about a band, so unless like you nurture that, then the whole thing, you know, wouldn't work. So yeah, we did a lot of music and then touching on scenes, and yeah, we're heading into week 4, all gun blazing.
Yeah, I think this week will be about a lot of deep diving. I think we're not very much off book for the most part, and just going even deeper. And I think the third week is where things feel a bit imbalanced, but now it's gonna all start really solidifying and then sort of locking in those choices, and then make it cohesive.
We did a kind of stagger through of Act 1 last week, and because we'd done everything so episodic, like done the song and then we'd done that scene and then we'd done that scene, and when we ran it I was like, it's so fast. It is going to be like, you're going to watch it and just it moves at such a lick.
Nobody's
and it's really
going to fall
exciting.
asleep then.
No, well, no. if I'd crank it up to 11 if they do. I'll wake them up.
Yeah. There's a lot to think about as well. I think even just in terms of tracks, like just making everything seamless, going from scene to scene. And I think the lighting's going to help with a lot of that. Just making sure we know what we're doing. But I think it's going to look probably by the end of tech, it's going to look quite effortless. We weave in and out.
That's the dream, Tomi. Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
He's an optimist, obviously.
Yeah. That's why we've got Tomi around, the optimism. No, it'd be great.
As opposed to Masha.
Yeah. Maybe it's seeping into my being. I don't know.
Are we the characters or are the characters us?
I know. Oh gosh, here we go.
So, what after this? Do you have anything lined up after this, the two of you?
Well, auditioning for a lot of stuff, but nothing solid.
I'm off to play Bottom, Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, where's that?
At Wilton's Music Hall.
Sounds good.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah.
It's a production that's on at the moment, and so it's an existing production. I'm going into it, so I've got 2 weeks to learn it.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be fun. But again, really different to this, you know, and that's what I love about this job, that you can go from something as like a new musical in my own accent to playing Bottom. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's been a while, but yeah.
In a decaying music hall in London, yeah.
Exactly, casual. Yeah.
And the Octagon, it's taking shape just next door to where we are at the moment.
It is, yeah.
You've got this, then you've got the Christmas show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking towards opening by then.
Yeah,
so how's it actually going?
As soon as this show is opened at the end of October, I'll be we'll very soon be going to rehearsals for Treasure Island, our festive show, which will be down at the stadium, and then I'm really just focusing on the plans for 2020. So yeah, what we're going to reopen the building with, how that whole first season's going to work. So yeah, just putting, and we've got quite a lot of those plans in place, but we're just doing the final details.
Yeah.
So yeah, as soon as I can share that, we'll have you back.
All of us are like, what is it?
Yeah, lots of exciting plans going on at the moment.
But for your first directing job at the Octagon, this is Seagulls, isn't it?
Does
this feel like a good one to open with?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love new writing. I love new musicals. I'm a big champion of female writers. And yeah, I just wanted to direct something that felt very funny but also moving. So yeah, this kind of ticks all the boxes for me.
It introduces the Bolton audiences to what you're about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was Tomi Ogbaro and Lauryn Redding with director Lotte Wakeham on Seagulls by Beth Hyland, which runs at Bolton Library Theatre from the 24th of October to the 16th of November 2019. For more information, see octagonbolton.co.uk. To finish, here is another song from the show, Muse.
You think you're the subject and I am the object. object, but baby, I object to that subjection. So please direct that objectification in a different direction. You think that you're George and you think that I'm Dot, but baby, I'm not, and you're definitely not, 'cause I'm an artist too, just like you, but maybe you forgot.
You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.